Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Mindbody Medicine for Chronic Pain podcast. My name is Sean Hershey. I am your host, and I am a therapist who specializes in helping people recover and heal from chronic pain. Hello, welcome. If that sounds good to you, you are in the right spot with the right people. Glad you're here. So I want to start with some recent little snippets from clients in my mind-body therapy practice to help you see and feel the power of the mind-body medicine model, and also to see and feel the power of choosing therapy if you want to do so. And I never do this, but I'm sharing these snippets with, so this is clear, no identifying information about the clients, of course, because I keep all my clients' personal information confidential. That is, unless clients want to come on the podcast, which one of my amazing clients did do because she wanted to. And you can listen to that season 2, episode 1 for that amazing interview if you are interested. But okay, these are some recent words from real but identity disguised people. So first, a client of mine who said this. When I started therapy with you, I was just thinking like, okay, it'll be a new therapist and he's focused on the mind-body connection. So, that'll be good for me as I'm recovering from SIBO and candida overgrowth in my gut. And the client said, but I thought this would just basically be regular therapy like I've had before. And it's funny, the client went on to say, because the structure is just like regular therapy. Like you're just asking me questions and we're just having a conversation like any regular therapist. But the mindset, this is what the client said, the mindset I'm learning and the paradigm you're working from is so different than anything I've ever done before. It's a totally new way to relate to my emotions and to my body and to myself and to my life. It's a new way to relate to everything. And I'm like, yeah, it is for me too. When I first learned this mind-body paradigm, it is and was for me too. And this client who said this has made some pretty major life changes over the past few months that we've been working together, which I mean, I actually think this client would have made these changes on their own. Like, I don't think they needed me to encourage them per se, but listening to their body made it crystal clear that some things really needed to change. And of course, the best news is that this client's physical symptoms are improving a lot. That is powerful. Mind body work is powerful. And so I'm sharing this so you can see, like, this is what we are doing here. This is the power of what we are doing together on this podcast. Okay, and then quickly, I'm just going to share now. If we're on this page, we're on this page. So I'm going to share one other client. This client and I, we were digging deep into emotional issues that were hiding in plain sight. And this client at the end of the session was like, they said this. They said, this is why I needed a counselor, because this emotional theme we're discussing today is so important. And the client said, I've been journaling on my own and I've been feeling like I'm just going through the motions on my own. And this issue is so pressing. It's so core to my life. And I've never thought to journal about it. In fact, this client did the 3 lists. So that's what Dr. Sarno and Nicole Sachs recommend, like writing down 3 lists of topics to journal about. The list headers are 1, past stressors, 2, daily life stressors, and 3, personality traits that make it hard to be me. For more info on that, if you're not familiar with that, the early episodes of this podcast, like if you're new to this podcast and this is interesting to you, episodes 1 through 5 of this podcast, that's a great starter kit to like understand what we're talking about here. And the 3 lists are covered there. Episodes 1 through 5 of this podcast. Also more info on the lists in Nicole Sachs's book, Mind Your Body. Also a great starter kit for this work. Anyway, this client was saying, I did the 3 lists and I have about 100 bullet points on the 3 lists combined. And this, the client said, what we're talking about today, this isn't on any list. I need someone to help me see this stuff because I'm clearly, on some level, defended against feeling and acknowledging these emotions. Yes, exactly. And what I can say to that is same. Same. I had the same experience in my own Mindbody therapy. Like the emotional themes that I uncovered while working with my therapist, her name was Liz Wallenstein. She was awesome and she works from this paradigm as well. The emotional themes that I uncovered working with her, I mean, you know how it is. Like they were surprising. Like I was like, I had no idea I felt that way. Like the themes were surprising on some level, and on another level, it's like, oh my god, of course. Like on another level, it's like, of course, I felt this way. On some level, I knew this, and I knew it all along. Of course. Oh, mind body therapy is very helpful, y'all. And I just want to put that information out there so you know the power of what we're doing here. And you can listen to this podcast knowing that this is the power of this work, right? And of course, if you want to take it deeper, like, and especially if you feel like you need to take it deeper, like if your symptoms are like telling you you need to take it deeper, you can allow therapy to help you, and you can allow therapy to be part of your journey, if you want it or need it. So if that speaks to you, I would be happy, in addition to being the host of this podcast, I would be happy to be your therapist if that felt good to you. And you can find me at mindbodymedicineforchronicpain.com or seanhershey.com. Both will take you exactly where you need to go. And you can reach out to me through the website to request a free consultation. Okay, hyping the power of mind-body work. Check. Moving on to the next order of business. What does freedom mean when you have chronic pain? And we're talking about what does freedom mean to you? So let's get into this conversation with this. I haven't reminded listeners of this in a while, and this is very topical to our theme today. So I'm going to hit on this one again right now. Listen to my podcast if you like it and if it resonates with you. I have to say this because chronic pain people, like, you know how it is, and so do I. We need to know to trust ourselves. I'm like you. I will stick with something that I don't like for way longer than I should, even if I know I don't like it. My message to you, don't do that. Okay? Like, if you don't like something, let it go. If you don't like this podcast, or if you don't resonate with my voice or my personality or whatever, don't listen. Move on. Let yourself be you. Be free. The great news is, as you probably know, there are many other resources. What does freedom mean to you? Does it mean listening to my podcast and obsessively following along if my voice doesn't resonate with you? No. It does not. That is not freedom. On my website, I have a whole list of great resources for mind body work. Explore that. It's at the bottom of the FAQ page. Every resource that I list is a slight variation on the same basic paradigm that I work from. Not enough people do this, that's for fucking sure, but a good number of people do this kind of work. And it's all, at the end of the day, it's the same thing, slight variations on the same basic paradigm. So all of it will be helpful to you. So trust yourself and trust what you like and trust what you resonate with, and know that you will resonate with what you need. Okay. The one caveat, however, the one caveat to this, stick with psychological and emotional treatments for chronic pain, because you know You know this. Emotional and psychological modalities are the treatment for chronic pain, period. It's not me that will heal you. It's the TMS, mind body, neuroplasticity model that will show you how to heal yourself. You don't have to stick with me, but honestly, you do have to stick with this. Don't go. I mean, follow your heart, follow your mind, follow your body, follow you, but don't go into treatments where the paradigm is, there's something structurally wrong with your body and it needs to be fixed. You know too much now. That's not the solution to chronic pain. Stick with the umbrella of nervous system stuff, the umbrella of trauma related stuff, the umbrella of emotional stuff, like even massage or body based, modalities that work to calm the nervous system and work to release trauma and work to release emotions from the body. Great, 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 great. Do all that. Welcome all that. Psychological and emotional work. Um, Stay here if you like it. You're so welcome here. This podcast is a great place. I love it, and I hope you do too. If you like it, great, stay here. If you don't, follow your heart to other emotional and psychological resources. Okay. Next order of business. Now let's really get into it. What does freedom mean to you? Here we are at the heart of the discussion. We have arrived. What does freedom mean when you have chronic pain? Okay, we're going to get into this with a story, and the story is going to lead us right where we need to go. So settle in and enjoy. Story time. So most weekday mornings, as I'm getting ready to see my clients, I listen to a public radio show on WNYC called The Brian Lair Show. It's the perfect thing to have in the background. And Brian Lair is the best. For those of you who don't know about Brian, that is truly your loss. But he's 73 years old. And he's been hosting this morning talk radio show on WNYC since 1989. I was born in 1988. He's been doing this since I was 1 year old. And I also, in preparation for this, just was crunching the numbers on this. That means he's been hosting this show since he was 36 or 37, if I have my math right. And I am 37 now. And I started this podcast when I was 36. So I'm like, you think I'll be doing this at 73? Wow, that's I don't even know what to say about that. That's crazy. So, okay, Brian Lair mostly talks about politics, how national and international politics impact New York City. He does a lot of local New York politics stuff as well, and he interviews the best guests. So that's where our story is taking us. Brian Lair had a guest on his show back in 2021, so this was a while ago, and she was a progressive political strategist and messaging consultant, and her name is Anat Shanker Osorio. Anat is the founder of a communications consulting firm, and I think she is a genius. She's an excellent communicator. She's very progressive politically, and the way she talks to people about like pushing the envelope for progressive change, she's amazing, and she's not afraid to make her fucking points. I just want to say I got this from her website. Here's a quote from her website. Don't take the temperature, change it. Conventional wisdom says meet people where they are, but on most issues, where people are is unacceptable. Isn't that amazing? Love her. I love a good communicator. Man, like that shit is inspiring. So Anat Shanker Osorio, she hosts a podcast called Words to Win By, which is all about messaging strategy behind different progressive political campaigns and how they win. And her stuff is like, it is not shot in the dark messaging. Like her stuff is very numbers driven. So Anat has this whole little bit, which I want to share with you. She has this whole little bit about, okay, Take a policy. You call the policy Universal Paid Family Leave. You'll get 35% of people on board to support it. And she has the research to back this up. I'm not quoting like the exact numbers. Like this is me sort of paraphrasing this bit, but you'll get the point. If you're interested, listen to her podcast, Words to Win By. It's called. Okay, so take a policy, call it Universal Paid Family Leave, and you will get 35% of people on board to support it. Okay, take the same exact policy, call it Paid Family Leave for All. You'll get 45% of people on board to support it. The slight change from Universal Paid Family Leave to Paid Family Leave for All. It's the exact same thing, but the messaging evokes something different. Something different enough to make a lot more people want to support it. Okay, last part. Take the same policy, the exact same policy. You call it Paid Family Leave for All, and then you say you'll be there when your daughter takes her first steps. That gets people to understand what this really is, what it's really about, and that gets enough people to support the policy, and then you win. I love that. I fucking love that. Kind of off topic, but I'm like, I fucking love that. If you're interested in her work, Words to Win By, awesome podcast, and she's the host. But okay, anyway, I first became familiar with her, Anat Shenker-Osorio, when she appeared on the Brian Lehrer Show in 2021. And they were talking about the problem with Democrats' messaging. Yeah. I'm like, just let that sink in. The problem with Democrats' messaging. Like, where do we even start with that? And this was back in the day, 2021. So this was when Democrats were trying and failing to pass the Build Back Better bill. And how much better would all of our lives be now if we had a more robust safety net in this country? That was like kind of the point of the Build Back Better bill. How much better would all of our lives be if we had guaranteed affordable childcare? But we do not, because that bill failed. Hopefully that changes in the future, but here we are today in the aftermath of that bill failing. So on the show, it was during the time where this was like, this was still up for debate. The process was still ongoing. And so on the show, 2021, Brian and Anat are talking about political messaging. And they're talking about like, how are the Democrats going to get this thing through? What like people like this. People people are for Americans. The majority of Americans are for all of the things that are proposed in this bill, but it's somehow become really unpopular because of shitty messaging. So this is the conversation, and Anat says, Brian, let me ask you this: if you had to guess, when we ask Americans in poll after poll, focus group after focus group, when we ask Americans what one value do you associate most with the United States of America, what would you guess always rises to the top, regardless of the demographic we're asking? What value do you most associate with the United States of America? What always rises to the top? And Brian pauses. And I'm in my kitchen at home saying out loud to myself, freedom. Duh. It's obviously freedom. Like, true or not, whatever freedom even means to people, the core American value is obviously freedom. Duh. And Brian Lehrer says, optimism? And I, in my kitchen, I say to myself, no, it's freedom. And Anat says to Brian, good guess, but no, it's freedom. The value that people across racial groups, across age, across all these other demographics, the value that Americans most closely associate with America is freedom. And I'm at home like, I knew that. And Anat goes on to say, freedom is a value that currently the right has quote unquote claimed. And the left has been too scared to utilize the power of evoking freedom. And that is really to our peril. Freedom, she says, is the language that helped us win marriage equality. The shift from right to marry in that campaign, from freedom to marry, was incredibly important. Freedom was, of course, the core value in the civil rights movement that fundamentally changed our society forever. Even if the civil rights movement, of course, was not able to go far enough because of the extreme resistance that civil rights activists faced. And then, Anat like lists several other examples. Freedom, 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 freedom. If you want to win, you leverage an American's thirst for freedom. And let me say, I know this podcast is not for Americans per se. This podcast has a bit of an international following, as a matter of fact. I get the analytics, so like I know this. This may surprise listeners. It is almost exactly 2/3 of you are listening from the United States, and almost exactly 1/3 of you are listening from abroad. So I wonder how the value of freedom lands with an international audience. I do not know. You tell me. If you want to, click in the show notes for the podcast. You can click ask a question on the podcast. Click that link in the show notes. And please provide any insights, feedback, or a question. If you have a question, obviously that's the sort of core purpose of that. You should be part of the conversation too. I would love to hear from you. Talk to me. But okay, I will say from a US American cultural standpoint, which is the standpoint I know, freedom hits hard. The theme of freedom hits very hard. Immigrants coming to America for centuries in search of freedom. Enslaved people rising up for freedom. The Civil War, deadliest war in American history. Literally, this is what we kill each other over. The core conflict in the Civil War was not states' rights, which is what we learned in my brainwashy white supremacist history class in like 6th or 7th grade. The core conflict in the Civil War was a fight for and against the abolition of slavery, for and against Black freedom. Freedom is powerful. And like I said, in the American context, which is the context I know best, the rhetoric of freedom is a rhetoric that the political right has claimed. Think freedom to own a gun. Think freedom to own several guns. Think freedom to fill your entire basement with an arsenal of extreme military style guns. For the international audience, if you didn't know, we actually do have that quote unquote freedom here. Freedom to stand your ground. Freedom to, be a complete asshole and engage in incredibly self-centered behavior and not give a shit about other people because, it's a free country. That is a freedom that we have here. And I personally, me from this podcast, I'm all for people feeling free to do whatever the fuck they want. All for it. Let your inner self be free. Let your true self free. That is huge, of course, for chronic pain recovery. Let yourself be free. And the key caveat there is as long as it's not hurting anyone else. And the "it's a free country" line, which is often leveraged, it's leveraged to substantiate asshole behavior, wherein one person is like, sure, doing whatever the fuck they want, but it's hurting someone else. Not cool. Not cool. In the American context, there's that brand of freedom, which is a fucked up kind of freedom, but it is there. So we have to talk about it when we are asking the question, what does freedom mean to me? Of course, again, in the American context, the strongest cultural association with freedom, the most prominently known story associated with the concept of freedom is, of course, not that, but the story of Black history in America. The concept of freedom is inextricably tied to that story and to that struggle. And any analysis of freedom has to engage that storyline because that is the core association with freedom in the American psyche. I don't know how that hits abroad, but that's definitely the core association with freedom in the American psyche. So we have to name that. So, as we're getting into the context, what does freedom mean? What does freedom mean? All right. We're going to go a little deeper into the co-opting of the language of freedom to mean like, doing self-centered and self-focused, self-advancing shit that definitely ends up hurting others. Okay. Freedom, freedom, freedom. That kind of freedom. Freedom from affirmative action, for example. That is co-opting the language of freedom. And that idea is, I just have to say, the idea of needing freedom from affirmative action is actually fucking ludicrous. I say this like lovingly and kindly because I know that some people actually believe that. So I just I wanna say this with love that like that's not true. The idea that if you're a white person, that you need freedom from affirmative action, that is ludicrous. The whole idea of affirmative action is to make up for the racism, the violence, the brutal exclusion of the past, which even that is kind of actually a misnomer because that is not just past, that's also present. Like that's happening today. But okay, if we just like take this at face value, the idea behind affirmative action is to make up for the racism and the violent exclusion of the past and create a level racial playing field based on equality today. Many, many white people in the United States now believe that we white people, we are being discriminated against because of the belief that affirmative action discriminates against us. Therefore, we need to be freed from, of course, the tyranny of affirmative action. That is not true. Okay, the most recent numbers, in case anyone listening to this podcast is falling prey to misinformation about this, because these numbers, I mean, they're out there, but this isn't what people talk about. When people talk about racism, people talk with their emotions. People don't talk with facts. So I'm just going to throw this fact out there in case you're falling prey to misinformation. The median wealth for a white household in America, $284,000. The median wealth for a Black household in America, $44,000. It's not even the same number of digits in those figures. $284,000 versus $44,000. Who's really not free in this picture? Who's really not free? What does freedom really mean here? And what do people really need freedom from? Another co-opted example of freedom. Freedom from a true accounting of American history. Parental freedom to control what your kids learn in school. No one wants their kids to feel bad. You don't want your kids to feel bad. What if your kids feel bad about slavery and about what our ancestors did? Okay, you don't want your kids to feel bad, I know. But what kind of freedom is that? Freedom from the truth? Freedom from like left-wing snowflakes? Yes. Like please, if you listen to this podcast, like please try not to be the villain in someone else's trauma story. Please. Like, do all of us on this earth a favor. Like, be yourself. Please lean into being yourself. And please do not be the villain in someone else's trauma story. Please. What does freedom even mean? So, we're going through the associations with the word freedom, the baggage around the word freedom, misinterpretations of freedom. Oh, and this brings us to the heart of the heart. What does freedom mean to you? There's a lot of confusion about freedom, something that we feel so strongly motivated by, and there's a lot of confusion about it. What does it even mean? Freedom from pain. Freedom from pain, freedom from pain, freedom from pain. You all know the picture. White women on the tops of mountains with their arms thrown out, long blonde hair whipping in the wind. That is the brand of freedom from pain. And if that's you, awesome. Like, that is a great place to be. White woman on top of a mountain, girl, go the fuck off. Like, that's an awesome place to be. And you have to ask, is that freedom for you? Don't give in to confusion about other people's definitions of freedom. Is that freedom for you? You and me, most of us with chronic pain, we are very susceptible to external messaging, very susceptible to this kind of confusion because we have major issues with not knowing who we really are and not knowing what we really want. We have major issues with knowing how to listen to ourselves. And we come by that honestly. You and me come by that honestly. If you have a hard time listening to yourself, that is a response to an environment that didn't listen to you, period. You could say it's a response to trauma, a response to interpersonal trauma. If you want to take it there, great, take it there. We can definitely say if you don't listen to yourself, that is a response. It's an internalization of a world that didn't listen to you. So you come by it honestly. Here's the thing, though. We are very vulnerable to someone else's idea of what our lives should be like and what we should think and what we should feel. Freedom from pain. Okay. This is like we're in the heart of the heart. Freedom from pain has to be defined by you, for you, in your life. It can't be defined by the white chick on top of the mountain. It can't be defined by me. It can't be defined by the political right. It can't be defined by the political left. It has to be defined by you. What does your freedom look like? How can you be the most free version of yourself without hurting anyone else? That is our task. And we've been cut off from connecting with our true desires and our true selves. So you may think that mind body success means leaning into action, hiking to the top of the mountain, reaching the summit, your hair blowing around, throwing your hands out, tilting your head back, closing your eyes, breathing it in, and feeling freedom. But what does freedom mean to you? I've had this exact problem myself, and some of my clients have had this problem themselves. So I know it's a stuck point for a lot of people. What does freedom actually look like for you? Because I can say from firsthand experience that I have definitely, in mind body work, it's really important to challenge yourself and lean into like doing physical activities that used to scare you, and learning that your body is safe in way more circumstances than you thought it was, and doing graded exposure work and climbing the proverbial mountain and getting to the top, and all of that is important, very important in mind body work. And I have personally experienced using that energy and letting the motivator behind it continue to be I have to be more like someone else. I have to be more active. I have to be more this. I have to be more that. I have to climb to the top of the mountain, fill in whatever blank. You don't have to do shit that you don't want to do. If your goal is to free your inner self, your goal is not to be more like me. Your goal is to be more like you. If you want to be on the top of the mountain, go. But you have to ask the question, do you want it? Oh, it's so important. Like, it's so important. These subtle changes in understanding drastically change your relationship with yourself and thus drastically helping your pain. So I want to just give some examples of what freedom could mean to you in your pain recovery, but also, I encourage you to recognize that these are just other ideas from me. These are not dogmatic truth for you. You know what freedom, well, maybe you don't know, but you can figure out what freedom is for you. You know it's somewhere deep in your consciousness and maybe you have to let it rise. But these are just some ideas from me just to shake it up and get your brain activated. Okay. The freedom to rest. The freedom to rest. This is the opposite of climbing the mountain. The freedom to take it fucking easy and rest. Lean into being the person in bed. That's the opposite of being the person on top of the mountain, being the person in bed. But it's the same because it represents freedom. So not staying in bed out of fear because you fear getting up, but staying in bed because you know how to take care of yourself. Staying in bed because you want to. Staying in bed because your body's telling you to rest, and so you're letting yourself rest. That is freedom too. That is why the cover art for this podcast. Do you see the cover art for this podcast? It is me in bed, and this picture was actually a selfie I took at a very cute Airbnb. And I think it's just like to me, it's just like funny because freedom from pain. It's a very compelling image to be on top of the mountain with the wind blowing, and that's a very compelling image for freedom. But what if your image of freedom is just you in bed? What if that's it? Okay, awesome. Same. Look at me. And if that inspires you, great. Freedom to rest. Freedom to rest. Other examples of freedom. Freedom to express. Freedom to express yourself. Freedom to create art. Freedom to speak up. Freedom to be a little out there. Okay. Yes. 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 Maybe you want to do some not so wholesome shit. Okay, maybe your freedom is we're not taking pictures of that. Okay. Or maybe you are taking pictures of that, but they're not going on the front of the freedom from pain brochure. Yeah, freedom to go out and party all night. Okay, freedom to you don't get home till 5 a.m. Great. You don't get home till the sun rises. Awesome. Wouldn't that be a fun thing to do without back pain or knee pain? Freedom. Yes. Freedom. One thing we've talked about on this podcast in the past, freedom to have anal sex. We went deep into that one, season 1, episode 8. If you want to hear more on that, go back and you can revisit that episode, season 1, episode 8. That's a fun one. It's all about the tool of graded exposure, and it's a very so it's very useful. Graded exposure, very useful. Freedom to have any kind of sex, right? Again, that's one for maybe some private pictures for you, not one for pictures that go on the front of the podcast. But that is freedom. That is freedom. Let your inner self out. Let your inner self be free. Freedom to lift and play with your kids. That's such a popular one. Freedom to get down on the floor and play with your kids. Also freedom to leave your kids at home and go do something for yourself without feeling guilty, or with feeling guilty, knowing that you can feel guilty and you can tolerate that, and you can do something you want to do anyway, no matter how you feel. It's okay. Freedom to travel. Yes, freedom to travel. That's a good one. Get those pictures, put them on the brochure for freedom from pain. Freedom to sit on an airplane, freedom to eat when you travel, freedom to, like, not worry what you're going to eat when you travel, and can you go here and what will the food be like. Um Simple freedoms. Freedom to go over to a friend's house or go to a party and, like, to know you can just eat whatever they're serving. You don't have to ask, like, are there traces of gluten or dairy or nightshades or soy or fructose or sulfites? Like, you understand what that's like. You've been there, same. And, you can be free from that now. Freedom even to drink, some alcohol or some caffeine again because you thought you had to stop everything because your naturopath said, "Stop everything." You thought your body couldn't handle it. Now, maybe you're free to try it again. And I'm gonna take the maybe out of there. Now you are free to try it again. Freedom to go back to a sport you used to love, but you had to stop because of your pain and your symptoms. Freedom to try a new sport or something you never had the chance to do. Maybe like something a little part inside of you have, like, you've always wanted to do. Freedom to fucking try it, right? Go ahead and do it. You can be free to do it. Freedom to be bad at it. Okay, fine. Freedom to get good at it. Yes. Hell yeah. Um, Freedom to never get good at it. Never being good at it. Also, awesome. You're still here. You are still here. God, that's like powerful. Like, you have been repressed. You've been so repressed, but you're still here. You're still here. Whew, that is the message. Let yourself be free with the caveat, as long as you're not hurting anyone else. So my suggestion to you, make this a priority. Make it a goal to better understand, what does freedom mean to you? Here's the goal. Know what it means for you to be free. Know what it means for you to be free. Journal about that. Reflect on that. Here's the goal again, because this is so important. Know what it means for you to be free. I'm going to wind down with this. With the lyrics from the classic song sung by Nina Simone, "I wish I knew how it would feel to be free." And this is complex. Nina Simone recorded this song during the time of the civil rights movement. So I did some research into this for background. "I Wish I Knew How It Would Feel to Be Free" was written by Billy Taylor and Dick Dallas in the 1960s. The most well-known recording of the song is by Nina Simone, released in 1967. And this song speaks to the heart. Now, cultural appropriation. Cultural appropriation, cultural appropriation, cultural appropriation. Yes. Here we are in the thick of that. I am, if you have not noticed, white. Yes, indeed, folks. I have ancestors who were white Southerners, from North Carolina. I can only imagine what they were like, and the hateful and racist thoughts that went through their heads, and the hateful and racist actions they engaged in. I can only imagine. I am positive that they were the villains in someone's trauma story. Let me put it that way. Positive. And here I am, a white man in America. I am their descendant. I carry their legacy. And I'm also out here healing from my traumas. Like, I am out here, and I also wish I knew how it would feel to be free. Black people in America fought for freedom from slavery and fought for freedom from Jim Crow, and still to this day fight for equality and for freedom from the criminal legal system, freedom from incarceration. Black people have to fight that fight because white people are fighting on the other side. I am part of that group that has historically held Black people as slaves, enforced Jim Crow laws, and I am part of the group that still, to this day, we fight against programs like affirmative action that would help level the playing field after centuries. I'm part of the group that puts people of color behind bars and tries to legitimize it by saying he's a criminal and I am not. He's a criminal and I am not. That, like, just think about that. Let that sink in. And don't I, as a white person, don't I want freedom from that fear? White people are so afraid of Black people or any group of people of color. We're so afraid of them, quote unquote, rising up and becoming powerful. People, for example, are so afraid of Zoran Mamdani winning the New York mayor's race. People are like, there's literally content on social media like about like seeking refuge. It's crazy. White people are so afraid of them. And that is our motivation behind doing all of this. All of this. What if we were free from that fear? What if? The world would be radically different. That's what if. and, and. The words of Nina Simone's song, for me, and for my personal life, and for the struggles I've had, like the little gay kid who had no idea who he really was. The little gay kid who was so afraid to be who he really was, who was taught to be so afraid of what was inside him. Her words, her yearning for freedom, her words land right in my heart. And me, like with all the baggage, all the cultural appropriation shit, all the baggage we're talking about, me, I hear this and I'm like, I know. I know. Because life is complicated, isn't it? I wish I knew how it would feel to be free. I wish I could break all the chains holding me. I wish I could say all the things that I should say. Say 'em loud, say 'em clear, for the whole round world to hear. I wish I could share all the love that's in my heart. Remove all the bars that keep us apart. I wish you could know what it means to be me. Then you'd see and agree that everyone should be free. I wish I could give all I'm longing to give. I wish I could live like I'm longing to live. I wish I could do all the things that I can do, though I'm way overdue. I'd be starting anew. I wish I could be like a bird in the sky. How sweet it would be If I found I could fly, I'd soar to the sun and look down at the sea, and I'd sing 'cause I'd know. Yes, I'd sing 'cause I'd know. And I'd sing 'cause I'd know how it feels to be free.